There's a task. You know it needs to be done. You've known for days, and yet you're here, scrolling, watching, waiting. Not because you don't care, not because you're incapable, but because something inside you, something quiet, something you can't quite name, is pulling you away. This isn't laziness. This is something far more interesting. And once you understand it, you may never look at yourself the same way again. You know the feeling. The morning starts with intention. There's a plan, a list, a version of yourself that seems entirely possible. And then, slowly, the hours begin to slip. You check one thing, then another. You tell yourself you'll start after lunch, then after this video, then tomorrow. And at the end of the day, what remains isn't just an unfinished task, it's a story you started telling yourself. I'm lazy. I have no discipline. Something is wrong with me. That story is almost never true, but it is almost always painful. Psychologists have a name for what's actually happening. It's called experiential avoidance, and it has nothing to do with laziness. In 1994, researchers Stephen Hayes and Kirk Strosahl, working in the field of acceptance and commitment therapy, identified a pattern that shows up across anxiety, depression, and chronic stress. The pattern is simple. When an action is emotionally associated with something uncomfortable, failure, judgment, inadequacy, the brain quietly steers away from it. Not because you've consciously decided to avoid it, but because your nervous system has learned that this task carries weight it doesn't want to feel. The avoidance doesn't announce itself. It simply makes the couch feel more reasonable than the desk, and tomorrow feel safer than today. Here's what's important to understand. Your brain isn't failing you, it's protecting you. The avoidance response is rooted in one of the oldest systems in the human brain, the amygdala. This small, almond-shaped structure doesn't think in terms of projects or deadlines. It thinks in terms of threat. And over time, through small failures, critical feedback, and high expectations, certain tasks become emotionally coded, not as opportunities, but as risks. Your brain doesn't distinguish between a predator in the forest and the possibility of submitting imperfect work. To the amygdala, they register in a similar way. The result is avoidance. Not laziness, protection. Think of your nervous system like a thermostat. It's always trying to keep things within a tolerable range. Now imagine a task, like writing an important email, carries emotional temperature. Maybe it reminds you of a time you were criticized. Maybe it connects to a fear of being seen. Maybe it carries the weight of a standard you've never quite met. When you approach that task, the thermostat detects the rising heat and does what thermostats do. It cools things down. It redirects your attention and makes checking your phone feel like a neutral act, when in reality, it's a regulation strategy. This is what cognitive scientists call task-emotion coupling. The task and the feeling have become linked, and you can't engage with one without brushing against the other. So the procrastination isn't about the task, it's about the emotion the task carries. So what do you do with this? Not with discipline, not with punishment, but with